Jai Baba, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday's program. We shall begin with a short prayer. Janice, could you do the short
Yes,
prayer,
uncle.
please? Jai Baba.
Yes. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you. And help us all to hold fast to Baba's Dhamma till the very end. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Thank you, Baba.
Thank you, Janice. Welcome, everybody, to our Thursday session. We shall now begin our session. Firstly, with inviting our beloved Lord Meher Baba to come and join us for this session. Not only just join us, but to take over the entire proceedings and let each word be spoken as per your wish, Meher Baba. Today we have with us Mr. Peter Nordeen, who was here with us last Thursday too, and it was because of the popular request from a lot of people, and of course, Peter himself kept his word and he said he will come back. So he's back here with us to share some more of the stories and his times with the Mandli, etc., from which we shall be able to learn something more about Meher Baba. So, without making any more fuss, let's get Peter to do. Come on, Peter, all yours, sir.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me again. I thought I might start with some stories from the very early days because it is a time that is often overlooked because so much has happened since then. So I think I'll start by telling you some of what I know about the Saint Gilori Shah.
Okay.
Okay? He was born in Baghdad about 1830. As a young man, he started working on ships, and because of his charisma, he rose in that world, and gradually he became a butler in the royal household for Queen Victoria. In 1875, he was on the trip to India with the Duke of Windsor, who was touring all of India. He worked up until a certain point. I don't know when he was given his retirement, but in appreciation, he was given his retirement in the form of treasure in a bag, apparently, which he took to India and he threw into the Narmada River somewhere. Somehow, he came to Ahmednagar, which was, as you know, at the time, it was maybe 25, 30,000 people. But he came to Ahmednagar to live after he retired from the service of Queen Victoria's household. He had, he ran a little clinic. He was reclusive. Can you hear me all right, Sam? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, could you please do me a favor and switch on your camera?
Oh, camera's not on. Okay.
Sorry.
Wrong camera selected.
No, no, no.
Okay, now we are on.
All right.
So good to see you, Peter.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So Gilroy Shah settled after his retirement in Ahmednagar, of all places. Very small place, not sophisticated. But for some reason, he came here to Ahmednagar. He was a reclusive person, but he formed a friendship with the family of Kaikushu and Gulmaya Rani. They had an interesting family. Kaikushu's father came from Iran. He was known as Sarosh Ganji. He was a spiritually inclined person who was somehow related to Baba's father, Shariarji. Gulmai wrote in her memoirs that when Kaikushu and she were married in 1896, there was a special guest who had attended, and who was that? Baba's father, Shariar. And after the wedding ceremony, her new father-in-law, Sarosh Ganji, took her by the hand and led her to this man, Shariar, introduced her, and told her, bow down to him. My hunch is that Shariar, when he came out of the desert after his years of wandering, probably saw his relative Sarosh Ganji in Pune. They were living in Pune at the time, in the late 1870s. And I think that's where they became reacquainted. And that's how he was at their wedding. But look at the connection. Sarosh Ganji, as I said, was spiritually inclined. He was a devotee of a man in Ahmednagar by the name of Bapu Saheb, who Baba said was a Jivan Mukta. When Sarosh Ganji died in 1903, Bapu Saheb, who was considered a respected person but considered unaffiliated by anybody beyond understanding with people, came to their house and said, give me the clothes of my disciple, about Kaikushu's father, Concept's father. So see the connections. At the time, they didn't know that he was perfect. They learned that later through Baba's explanations. Ahmednagar had some spiritual personalities at the time and even before. So time went on. They had this friendship with Gilroy Shah. Gulmai used to feed him his lunch every day, send his lunch to him every day. It was, then you know, the history of Mehrabad as being, it was a quarantine camp for POWs in World War I, which was only used about a year and a half. And then the premises were auctioned off, including the land, but Kaikushu didn't buy the land, somebody else bought it, because nobody was really interested in this land out here. It was 6 miles from Ahmednagar, quite desolate. And by that time, after the auctioning of the materials of the camp, the place was basically a shambles. There were a few buildings that were still intact. Otherwise, it was a lot of semi-demolished little structures. The man who bought the property, came to Kansaheb and asked him if he wanted the property. He said, I don't know why I bought this. I don't need it. I don't want it. Why don't you take it? I'll give it to you for the price I paid. His brother-in-law, who is also named Kaikushu, Sarosh's father, was not interested in this land at all, but somehow our concept Kaikushu purchased the property, so now he and Gulmai own this property. And immediately, the Saint Gilroy Shah started requesting a place on this property, saying, I would like to retire there. It's a good atmosphere. It's quiet, and it's a good atmosphere. So please give me something. They refused to do that for a number of years because the Zoroastrian community, which was Orthodox, did not have a heritage of respecting spiritual personalities. And this person being a Muslim, well, now I should qualify this. He didn't regard himself as a Muslim per se. He was a member, I was a Sufi affiliated with the Chishti group in the north. So he was a Sufi. Time went on. One day Gulmai had a dream, and in that dream, she's holding a baby in a blanket. She takes the blanket off the baby's face, and it's Gilori Shah, who says to her, "Mother, I'm so tired, and you still haven't given me my place to rest." Zoroastrians are big on dreams. She woke up and told her husband about this dream she had, and he said, "Now we must give it to him, no matter what people say." She said, nonetheless, Upasni Maharaj, by this time she was devoted to Upasni Maharaj and Baba. Upasni Maharaj had told her the previous May that Merwan is now your master. All your personal affairs, you settle with him. Don't ask me anything anymore. He's responsible for you. So at the upcoming celebration of Baba's birthday at Mazli Mim in Bombay in February 23, the engagement of their eldest son Rustam took place with Mera's elder sister Piroja, whom now Baba had named Freni. So now they were engaged, and the wedding was set to happen in May. And Gulmai, in conversation with Baba after that, said, "By the way, you know that Saint Gilori Shah, he says that that property we have towards Arangaon is very good, and we should bring you and Upasni Maharaj there. And he wants a place for it, for himself. He wants some place there." Now, by this point, he was saying, "Just give me a small piece. I only want enough space to lie down." So then they understood what he was talking about. So Gulmai said he wants to have his tomb there at that property. Baba immediately said, "You give him whatever he wants and make sure Kanseb pays for everything." So that's how Gilori Shah became connected to Merapad, free of outside influence. Now there are a few other stories that are very interesting. The family was, as I said, very closely connected to him. Baba would mention him occasionally. Adi said Baba would mention the Wali, Gilori Shah. Wali, fifth plane. The Wali Gilori Shah. One day, Adi said he went to Gilori Shah's home, and in his hall, parlor, he had a large table. On that table, he had set a coffin. The room was dark, the windows were closed and covered, and he had candles burning all around this coffin. And when Adi came in, he said, "Today, I have buried all of my desires." And he got up on the table and climbed into the coffin and lay down. And Adi thought, "What is this? What is happening?" Something very mysterious. But the next time he was with Baba, and Baba mentioned the Pir Gilori Shah, he had raised him to the sixth plane. Interesting story. If you're familiar with Baba's explanations, he says on the sixth plane, all desires disappear. That was Gilori Shah.
We've never heard of all these things before, Peter.
Yeah, these are a few things. Once I was standing outside of the registration office when it was there at Kushru quarters in Ahmednagar, And Adi came and stood next to me and said to me, when I was a young man, younger even than you now, I was standing exactly where you are standing now. And Baba came and stood next to me here, where I'm standing. Just at that moment, Gilori Shah came and stood there at the gate. And he called, Adi. Baba said, don't move. Again, he called, Adi. I looked at Baba, didn't move. One last time, the third time, Adi. I did not respond, and he walked away. This was my first lesson. We follow one master and one master only. Masaji, that is the Masaji we know as Pendu's father, after his wife died, he came to Ahmednagar to work for B.J. Irani Company. They had a liquor store, and he was working there in a liquor store. And he would also visit the Saint Gilori Shah and help him, give him his bath, tend to him. And isn't it interesting that these people, they gravitate towards these families? It's not an accident. It's not random. Quite amazing. It was Masaji who really convinced Gulmai to finally go to Pasi Maharaj because she was very despondent about life. She had a hard life and had no fulfillment in life, didn't know reason for it, until she went to Sakuri. The first person she met at Sakuri was not Pasi Maharaj, it was Merwan. He was Merwanji then. So she met him first, and then he led her in to meet Pasi Maharaj. And that changed her life completely. You may or may not have read her memoirs that are really quite something. To me, I consider Gulmai's memoirs as the greatest contribution to Baba's early history in the last easily 20 years, I would say. Really good. She tells the story of Upasi Maharaj beating her violently. She begged him to kill her. That was her state. She was experiencing some kind of altered state through this beating. Of course, the family members came to know that Upasi Maharaj beat her, and yet she would always want to go back there whenever she could. Which is one of the reasons her brother, the doctor, and Sarosha's father, Kaikushu elder, considered her mad. And they would taunt Concept Kaikushu, saying, your wife is crazy. Look what she does. At that time, there was only that family and Sarosh, who followed Baba in Ahmednagar. This is now 1923. Satta family was not there yet till the next year. So 1923, only Kaikushu, Gulmai, and their 4 children.
Sorry, Peter, there is
Yes.
a question.
Pardon?
Somebody's asked a question.
Okay.
On which format can one find Gulmai's memoirs?
It's been published as a book done by David Fenster and Keith Gunn. So it's printed now. I don't know if it's online, but it's printed. Now, I'm going to say one thing qualifying it, because this was done in 1939, and she finishes her memoirs in 1939 by saying, I've been excluded, pushed out by these new people, and I wish that their experience is better than mine. But there was a reason, there were 2 reasons why Baba didn't bring her in as much as he had. One was that her husband, Kansep Kaikushu, was still alive, and both Upasi Maharaj and Baba had told her she has a responsibility for this family life and she should be there to support him. But the other issue is that Shireen Mai was still alive. And Shireen Mai had a deep resentment for Gul Mai because Baba referred to her as his spiritual mother. How dare he say any such thing? She is his mother. Who's the spiritual mother? But Baba would say in the early days, you will become like Babajan. And she would say, how is that ever possible? I could never be like Babajan. He would say, I'm telling you, you will become like Babajan. I believe, my own conjecture, is that she may be the Babajan of the next Advent. That means she could be in Baba's circle, and by then she will have realization, as all circle members will get. I believe, because Baba had emphatically stated it, that she will probably be the Babajan of the next Advent. There's another interesting thing. Oh, we're talking about old family connections. Khorshid would tell us that when she was a little girl, 12, 13 years old, Baba sent them to his home in Pune. He wanted them to spend time with his family in Pune. When they went, her mother, Sunamasi, one of the women in Mandali, was having a conversation in Dari with Shireen Mai's mother, Golandun, who was asking her, where are you? You're from here? What's your father's name? Baram. What does he do? Oh, he's a woodworker. He did it. That Baram from such and such? Yes, that's my... We're cousins. So now, it seems that Gul Mai and Shireen Mai were second cousins. Let's just see the connections. Fascinating. So Adi's family on his mother's side is connected to Shireen Mai, and on his father's side is connected to Jariarji. Connections. Fascinating. At the time, after Gilroy Shah was given permission to have his place, the very next day he went out there and marked out the property he wanted. This is without hearing anything, he went out there in a tonga with some of his disciples, followers, and Gul Mai sent a mason. This is after the dream, still tentative, but this is after the dream. He marked out the four corners of the area he wanted at the camp area. It was at that point where his followers asked him, why do you want to be out here? There's nothing here. It is so far from, you're 6 miles from Ahmednagar. We can give you your choice of the best gardens in Ahmednagar for your tomb. Why would you want it out here? And that's when he scolded them and said, you people are children, you have no understanding what this is. He spoke to them in Urdu, and Padri said he used the word Bara Saheb. The Bara Saheb is coming here. The Great One is coming here, and my tomb shall be here. And he said this beautiful line in Urdu, must have been very poetic. Whenever he passes by, the dust from his feet will settle upon my tomb. So that's how his tomb came to be there. Now, when Baba first came then, on that day in May, in 1923, because he was experiencing opposition from some of the Zoroastrians in the family there. So you know the story. He got up and left, and all the Mandali who were with him, there were about 14, I think, that were with him, had a standing rule. Wherever he goes, you follow. So whatever they were doing, they dropped it and immediately followed him. He didn't say anything, but he kept walking, went towards the station, and then turned to the south and walked to Mehrabad. It was not Mehrabad then, of course. Stopped at that tree, and as Padre would say, playing the bloody fool, he says, "Oh, look at that. Somebody's tomb is there, but it's not occupied yet. This is a nice place." And this is what Padre told me. Baba said, "Oh, this is a nice place." And Adi said, "Yes, it belongs to my father." And Padre said, Baba told Adi, "Good, you have him give it to me." Well, that didn't happen immediately. You know the story. It took many years for that to happen. There was real drama in the meantime. But it made for a fascinating story.
Sorry, Peter.
Yes,
A lady called Dilshad wants to ask something. She's
yes,
raised.
please do.
Go
Uh,
ahead, Dilshad.
Yes, Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Uh, Two questions. One is if you could please repeat the name of the book, which would be Gulmai's Memoirs. And second is, you said something to the effect that Shirinmai and Gulmai were later found out to be cousins. And on the Sheriarji side, there was something else. Could you please explain a little?
Yeah.
It's a
They
little confusing.
okay. They discovered they were cousins in 1922. So they knew that the relationship was there. Now, one thing I didn't clarify is that after Shirin Mai and Khan Saheb died, Gulmai was the special guest at most every darshan program Baba had if she was well enough to attend. For an example, the Wadia Park darshan in 1954, on one side sits Gulmai, on the other side sits Godavari Mai. So she was a special guest. I would have liked to have seen a qualification in the writing to explain that, because it was not the end of the story. One thing to remember is that the last time Baba visited Mehrabad was for the burial of Gulmai's body in 1962. That was the very last time he came to Mehrabad. Now the other, you wanted me to repeat
The
that,
connection of Sheriarji to some
yes,
other family member.
yes. So, according to Gulmai, Sheriarji was a relative of Kanseb's father. And we assume that they met each other in Pune in the late 1870s. So Rosh Ganji and his family were sent to Ahmednagar to oversee the Agyari in Ahmednagar. He was a very successful person, very honest person. He was in a business when he first came to India. He was in a business in Bombay that was thriving, but he would save something and give it to the poor. And his business partners didn't like that, his business in Bombay. And so he quit. And he quit that business, and the business began losing money. So they begged him to come back, so he agreed to come back, and then the business thrived again. But he moved to Pune. This is now the 1870s, and that's when they were in Pune, where he became associated with somebody who put him in charge of the Agyari in Ahmednagar.
Person you're talking about is the father of Kekashruji,
Correct.
Kansai.
Concept, we call him Concept Kaikushu.
Okay, thank you.
There's so many Kaikushrus they have to have some kind of identification. So we call him Concept Kaikushu. I want to tell you another interesting thing that happened to me concerning Galori Shah. There was a Baba lover, came to Baba later in his life. His name was Terry de Lima. He was a Goanese guy who was an archivist. And he was fascinated that most every place he went to do archive work, he found that Baba was there and had done seclusion or something. So many things. So he was really fascinated that that had happened, such a coincidence. Anyway, one day we were here at Mehrabad and talking about history and the early history, and I mentioned Galori Shah, and he mentioned that there should be some more investigation about his life. I said, well, we could go and try. He said, yeah, let's go. What do we do? He said, well, the next time the bus goes to town, we'll get on the bus and go. So we went on the bus and went to Ahmednagar, got off the bus. He says, okay, now what do we do? I said, we walk. We walk towards that area. We walked down that street. He happened to see an old friend of his at D'Souza's pharmacy. So he went to meet this friend of his at D'Souza's pharmacy, and I went to the Muslim Udani pharmacy across the street there and spoke to the shopkeeper there. Spoke to him in my broken Hindi, and then came to find out he spoke enough English. And I asked him, we're looking for people who might know something about the Saint Galori Shah, whose tomb is there at Mehrabad. Do you know anything? I don't know. That's a long time ago. I don't. There's an old man walking there across the street. Why don't you try and ask that old man? Venerable old Muslim man, nice long beard, dressed in white, nice countenance. So I approached him, spoke to him in Hindi, and asked him, told him what we were trying to do, that we're looking for somebody who knows something about Galori Shah. And he, oh, yes, I know Galori Shah. I'm his great nephew. Okay, I brought him to the shopkeeper to get all this information straight. So I brought him to the shopkeeper. At that minute, Terry returns from across the street, comes into the shop, and I said, this is Galori Shah's great nephew. He looks at me. Okay. And so there were some questions I had for him. He says, I don't live in Ahmednagar. I just happened to be here for a few days. I live in Paitan. I just came. I was at Mehrabad yesterday at his tomb. I don't live in Ahmednagar. I just happened to be here. Look at the timing. So I asked him, are there any photographs? Oh, no. No pictures. He was a wali. No pictures of a wali. Okay. Anything written? He told me there is a small book written in Urdu, and he was going to try to get it for me. Now, something happened. I don't remember what. I still have his address in the house down the hill, but I lost contact with him. In the meantime, Terry de Lima is looking at me and said, that's it? Just walk for 3 minutes and that's it? Well, sometimes it happens. These are not just ordinary people. These are not coincidences. Something behind it. You know, I always thought I'd walk by his tomb at Lower Mehrabad, and different people come there, and I'd think, people come here, they try and ask. Baba said, if you go to a tomb of a saint, a real saint, you may be granted something. I'd walk by and say, what do we need? I don't need a... I sure would like to get a photograph, though. Why can't we get a photograph? I thought of that a few times. About a year later, David Fenster sends me something on email. He says, "What is this? What do you think?" I looked at it. It was a photograph from the end of 1899. A photograph from 1899. It was a grand opening for a supply depot for Goher's grandfather, B.J. Irani, who owned the company that both the Kaikushus worked for. They worked for him. So this photograph was there. There's B.J. Irani in a prominent center hall. The two Kaikushus are standing behind him. There are some other prominent people, including British officials who were in the camp at the time. And then way on the right-hand side is this Muslim mendicant, fakir, obviously Muslim. Who is this person? Sitting, obviously respected, garlanded, holding a bouquet. So he's a person of respect. What is he doing there with this group of Britishers? And I looked closely at him, and I told David, we've been looking for this for years. This is the only photograph that we have of Gilroy Shaw. He inadvertently got caught in this photograph for this grand opening of Goher's grandfather's supply depot in December of 1899. Why do I know it's him? Well, here he is. As I explained, he's a person. He's obviously, he looks like a Sufi, but he's given prominence there, respected. He's not just some guy off the street. He has a connection to the British people. So they know him from when he was working for Queen Victoria. So there he is, but something else is interesting about him. What is that? In a close-up of him, you see that under his scarf, he wore a scarf like Sai Baba, that white scarf on his head. Under his scarf, you see a Vaishnavite tilak on his forehead. This is a Sufi guy, a Muslim, with a Vaishnavite tilak on his forehead? He's obviously somebody beyond religion. So the history is that at some point in his life, he traveled to central India and had a master there who taught him pranayama, which he continued his whole life. When he dropped his body in 1924, they said he still looked very youthful, very fresh and youthful. He didn't look like an old man. Fascinating connection. So obviously, he was somebody who was far beyond. Now, the plaque on his tomb, I had Carl Ernst translate it very carefully, but it's very enigmatic. It has symbols and different things. It's really interesting, but I believe he uses there is a couplet from Rumi that is printed on his plaque, which says, "I have no country, I have no religion, I am only of God," and something. I forget. I'm paraphrasing greatly, not translating. But that was Gilroy Shaw. Fascinating personality. Yes.
She's raised her hand again, sorry.
Okay. Further questions?
It would be interesting to know how David Fenster found that photograph and was convinced that it was Gilorisha.
Well, he wasn't convinced that it was Gilroy Shaw. I was convinced that it was Gilroy Shaw. And I showed one of our old friends, you know the doctor who married Gulnar, Sarosha's daughter? Hirji Aidenwala, do you know him? Sam, you remember him, Hirji Aidenwala?
I do
Fortunately,
have not heard.
Okay, he was a doctor. He married Sarosha's daughter Gulnar. Very fine person. But he also wrote a book on the history of Ahmednagar in light of Baba's influence and spiritual heritage, not just secular history, but the history of Ahmednagar with spiritual heritage. And I showed him that photograph. And I said, "What do you think?" His reply was, "Who else could it be? Who else could it be?" So although he's not named, many of them are not named. We only know that we know them by recognition. But I'm convinced that it is him, without having to have a name there.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Sure.
Thank you. I hope the questions are okay with you.
Oh, please ask more questions.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
We're supposed to repeat the name of the book.
The name of the book, I think it's Gulmai's Memoirs. I think it is published as Gulmai's Memoirs.
Shariardi Press?
I think it's Shariar Books. I can't be sure. I think it is.
Peter, on a different note, can I ask you one question, please?
Certainly.
Are you also the same person who has been deciphering the letters and the conversations of Princess Norina Michelle with Baba?
No, I'm not involved in that. Other people are involved in that.
Okay,
We do
thank you.
have in Asheville, in the archives in Asheville where I live, we do have many of her letters. But yeah, I'm not involved in that.
Thank you.
Many people are interested in that Western-centric history of Baba, but I like to focus on the history that's not as well known so that it doesn't get lost. That's why I'm telling you today about the very early history and some of the things that I had heard.
Jai Baba. It's not a question, just for helping everybody around. There was a good article that came on Glory Shah, I think 3 or 4 issues which were print back from today, maybe a year back, on the Glow International, and I'll scan it and post it on the group and send it to Sam. Jai Baba, so you get more information on Glory Shah, especially.
I have seen
You
that.
must have read, Peter.
Yeah,
Jai Baba.
I have.
Yeah.
Just one more comment from my side, if you permit me, Peter. I was watching you live in the room. I just left because I'm headed back home. The doctor that you mentioned, Dr. Adanwala, is actually moved to Tamil Nadu and retired
Yes.
from Punur. And he's
Yeah.
a award-winning doctor
Yes.
in child surgery and very respected locally. I
Yeah.
ran into the house literally by seeing the sign Meher on his gate post.
Yeah.
And then it was a interesting episode, yeah.
Yeah.
In Ooty.
They've
Yeah.
done a nice video of him and his work for
Oh, I see.
Smile International.
Okay.
He was very good man.
Correct. That's the organization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good man. He had the great opportunity
Thank you.
He had the great opportunity to examine Baba during the last days. Goher wanted him to examine Baba during those last days. And he came in, he saw Baba, and he said, "I'm sorry, I don't have a stethoscope with me." Baba said, "Doesn't matter. Put your head on my chest." So he listened to Baba's heart by putting his ear on Baba's chest.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Now that's a good question. Did Glory Shah meet Baba? We don't know that, but we assume that's true. We don't know that because many of these saints don't have to physically meet
Except for
the perfect masters.
except for the episode of Adi that you mentioned.
Yeah,
So they were
yeah.
face to face.
And the other thing to remember is that if Galori Shah came to the gate at that point, he was being prompted by Baba to do that, to give a lesson. Inwardly. They have that inward relationship and they don't have to necessarily physically meet. Although Baba did physically meet many advanced persons, and he especially would want to do seclusion work with high musts of a particular nature for a specific work. Yeah, very fascinating. When it comes, yes? Okay, I don't know. I didn't hear that, but Raj's, Raj's phone. Is that a
Hello.
question?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Raj. I got
Yeah,
you, Raj.
yeah. I'm not asking a question, but I just want to mention that when Gulmai died and Meher Baba had been to Mehrabad for the last time, I was also present there on that occasion of
Yes.
her burial.
Right.
I
Right.
was fortunate to be there as a child.
And,
I was
yes.
9 years old at that time.
Wow, Raj.
Yes. And it is reported. It is reported that your father made a comment to Baba.
Yes, that was the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was
About
the
Mehrabad becoming a great place of pilgrimage.
Right, right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for it's so
Okay.
lovely listening to you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See you next time you're here.
Right. Jai Baba.
Say Baba. Yes.
When we say Baba visited Mehrabad for the last time, is it that he used to stay in Mehrazad only? Am I right in understanding that?
He would he would go from Marazad to Guru Prasad.
Correct.
While he
Yes,
was in Pune, he would sometimes visit homes or shops of his lovers there. He would occasionally stop in Ahmednagar at Kushru quarters. That he would do. And he even stopped a few times to visit Dun. You know, Roshan Karawala's sister Dun, Erich's cousin Dun. She suffered from muscular dystrophy. I don't I don't remember when he visited her last, but sometimes he would stop. So basically that was it. Merzad, Ahmednagar, Pune. He stopped visiting Bombay in 1959.
sir, you mentioned twice that that was the last he visited Mehrabad. So my
Yes.
question is that is because Mehrabad is at a distance from Mehrazad and he would not be regularly going there.
His, okay, excuse me. Can you take care of this? Okay. Sorry about that.
Not at
Uh, his work at Mehrabad was completed. Kaikabad's family lived there on the hill in the Must Ashram quarters. We refer to it as the Must Ashram quarters. It was built as a maternity hospital. And there were a few reasons that that building was built in 1938 as a maternity hospital. Baba, you know, he was the efficiency expert. With one apparent action, he was accomplishing a dozen things in different ways. Yes, Baba wanted there to be some interaction between the Eastern and Western women in service. So that maternity hospital had been done. But there is a history of these maternity hospitals in Concept's family. Adi used to tell us he recalled as a young boy seeing these very poor women who were about to give birth wander off into the bushes, have the baby, come out on the side of the road, take the umbilical cord, put it on a flat rock, and with a sharp rock, cut the umbilical cord. He would say how tough these people were. But both the Kaikushrus, that is, Adi's father and Sarosha's father, started some maternity hospitals for poor people, for poor women. So it already had been happening. And you know Baba's history at Mehrabad. He had the schools, he had the hospital and clinic. There were always clinics at Mehrabad. There was Meher Free Dispensary. But there was another thing that was happening then in 1938. There was all that building that was being done. And Mera's uncle, among other people, were causing bad press for Baba, writing against him. And there were these rumors, Meher Baba has lured these wealthy Western women, and he's fleecing them, taking their money. So there was encouragement towards the government to tax Mehrabad, to tax Baba because of this. And Baba had a very simple solution. Kansab was alive and very much involved. By that point, Kansab was very devoted to Baba. And so they continued this idea of a maternity hospital. It was a very good thing to do up on the hill, which was the quarters for the women. So this was a service they could do specifically for women on the hill. So that's how they maintained their charitable status by having that hospital on the hill. It only functioned until they left on the Blue Bus tours. So it wasn't meant to be forever. There they were. They left in December 38, only functioned a few months. That building now was used for the most important thing when they returned from Bangalore in May 1940, and that was 5 of the musts from Bangalore were brought to Mehrabad so that Baba could continue his work for the war with the musts. And in that hospital compound, it became the Must Ashram. It's very important today because it's the only Must Ashram premises in Baba's life's work that is left. All the other ones have been dismantled, gone. Many of them were just temporary. Bangalore was big, but the one at Mehrabad, for all those people who come for Baba's darshan, they can see where Baba did work with the musts. Specifically, seclusion work for World War II. There were 2 great seclusions that happened in the Must Ashram quarters there, beginning August 1st, 1940, and then again beginning August 1st, 1941. They were both related to his work for World War II. All the history is there, I won't go into it. But that's just gives you an idea of the importance of that building. Now, what we were saying is, we got on this track because we talked about Baba's last visit to Mehrabad. And Kaikabad's family was staying at Mehrabad. Kaikabad lived at Meherzad with Baba, but Kaikabad's wife and 3 daughters lived in that, what was used to be the hospital building. That was their family quarters. Baba's birthday, 1965 or 6, I don't recall. The eldest daughter, Mera, known as Meru, was cooking in the kitchen there. There was a kitchen in the back. There was a kitchen and a bath that was initially built for the hospital, and then it was expanded for the Must Ashram. She was cooking in the kitchen. There was an explosion and a fire, and she got badly burned. Badly burned. She lingered for a few days. Medicines were sent. She lingered for, I think, 3 days, and then she died. Baba said that in that fire, she was God realized. And Kaikabad at Meherazad, he was very happy. Wasn't concerned at all. Oh, very good. Very good. So there is her grave
No
at
people.
the end of the line.
आगे वाले पराठे और चिल्ला देते हैं ठीक है ठीक और सूप है ठीक है सूप इसका
At the,
मतलब दाल वगैरह डाल ठीक
at the end of the line at the women's cemetery is her grave there. And Gulu and Jalo used to take their daily walk, and they would,
Baba call.
you know how Gulu and Jalo would walk, they'd kind of waddle and they'd slowly walk and go to the tomb, and then they'd wander around, and then they'd go over to their sister's grave and see that. That was their walk. A little bit of a walk.
I remember that.
Pardon?
I remember Gulu and Jalo.
Yes, yes. And you remember Dara Katrak, your president. Remember Dara?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So Dara's mother and Jerbai, that is Kaikabad's wife, were sisters.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yes, and that's how the connection happened. You know, Katraks were old Bombay Baba lovers from Mazlamim time. And she told her sister about Baba, so Kaikabad came for the first time in 1927 to visit Meherabad. At that time, he brought Mansari with him, who had a very serious skin affliction. And Baba did something and said she'll never be bothered with it again, and she was cured, and that was the end of it. Oh, these are all little bits of stories and things we're talking
A
about.
little thing about Darav Shah Katrak. He was torn between these two ladies and Mansari. Every morning they would cook rava for him, and he could only eat at one place. So if he went there,
Yes.
would get wild, and he'd get scolding. This is love.
Yes. Well, that's, for Dara Katrak, who was, as you know, such a very mild-mannered person with not too many sanskaras left. That's about as severe as he would have to experience. Eating rava at the wrong place. Yeah, he was a very fine person. Yes. Any other questions?
You said about the must ashram, the only one at Meherabad.
It is the only must ashram of Baba's that still exists is the one at Meherabad.
What about the Rahuri cabin, which is, of course, brought back?
Yes.
Did Baba do some work at the Rahuri cabin? Or
Yeah, what happened in Rahuri, if you remember the history, the man who leased the property started extorting from Baba. And so Baba and the Mandali got fed up and they moved everything back to Meherabad. The components of the cabin, that is, even the Shabad flooring, the polished Farsi was good quality, so they brought all of that back. This is another thing that Elizabeth and Nordeen paid for. Here's one thing I want people to remember about Elizabeth and Nordeen. They couldn't give Baba enough. Baba's complaint about Elizabeth is, please, that's enough now. She would give him whatever he wanted, but he didn't want to take only from her. So he had other people. Okay.
Somebody's mic is open.
Yeah. So Baba would, when he had Sahavas programs or whatever, he would tell the Hamirpur people, I want you to spend 1 rupee. You buy that booklet, 1 rupee, spend it, made sure everybody would take part. That's how he made them take part in his work. He wanted all of his lovers to take part. So Elizabeth would have given Baba so much more, but he didn't want her to give everything. She was a practical person too. That's the background of it. Anyway, the Hurry cabin was dismantled and the components were taken to Mehrabad. People shouldn't get the idea that the cabin was lifted and carried. It wasn't. It was all completely dismantled and the components were taken back. I don't believe the bricks were taken back. They may have been, but the bricks would have had mortar on them and it wouldn't have been easy to reuse them. Now, the interesting thing about the man in Rahuri who had leased the property to Baba was that while Baba was there, he elicited a promise from Baba to have a son. He wanted a son. And finally Baba said, "You will have a son." All right? In the meantime, once he had that promise, he started causing trouble, trying to extort money. They got fed up and they left. His wife was pregnant. Monsoon came. There was a big flood there in Rahuri, a heavy rain, and he died in the flood. And a few weeks later, his son was born. Baba's promise. So, like that. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Who used to be here?
Pardon?
Who used to be here at Mehrabad from 62 to till Baba dropped his body?
Who was here?
Yeah, I mean, who were the ones who stayed here?
Who lived at Mehrabad?
Yeah.
So, in the 60s, you had Kaikabad's family on the hill. Mansari was on the hill. Padri was down below with Muhammad Damast. Sushila, Vishnu's cousin Sushila, came to live at Mehrabad in the 60s. She was here then. Nanakher came after Baba dropped the body. He wasn't here then. Or he came at the end of 68, I don't recall which, but I think he came just after Baba dropped the body to serve as the tomb attendant. Jungale family was living in Arangan. And there were a couple of servants. There weren't that many people here.
There's a mention of 4 pillars of Mehrabad.
Pardon?
There's a mention of 4 pillars of Mehrabad.
Oh, yes.
Who were those 4?
The 4 pillars of Mehrabad were Padri, Pendu, Adi, and Vishnu.
So Vishnu was not there?
Vishnu died in 1962 also. Do you know the story of his death?
No.
Fascinating story.
So can you repeat those 4 names, please? Pendu, Padri,
Pendu, Padri, Adi Senior, Adi K, and Vishnu.
and senior Adi is Sarosha's elder brother.
No, Sarosha's cousin.
Okay, thank you.
They were basically the same age. They were all born in 1903, by the way, including Sarosh. They were all those 5 were born in 1903.
And Kekobad was again a Mandli or a
Kaikabad was
family
one
of
of the Mandali, but he was different. He had different duties.
Correct. Actually, I wanted to ask before this question came up on Kaikobad, because Baba used Kaikobad for his universal work. And I'm reading during 1959, when most of the time Baba was in Mehrabad, he used to be with him every morning, at least for half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour, in the room which is next to the Mandali Hall.
Correct.
And that's what, in fact, fascinating me. Even after when the prayers were said along with the Mandali, he would hold Kaikobad's hands, especially during the repentance prayer.
Yeah.
And slap his cheeks using his hands.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting to know about this.
Yes. So since you brought the subject up, I'll give you some elucidation on Kaikobad. He was a person who had experiences. He gained experiences from repeating Baba's name 100,000 times a day. Started in the 40s. It became more intense in the 50s. And Baba began using him. He was like the stand-in, utility, spiritually accessible person. So Baba, you know how Baba would like to have a spiritually advanced person as a utilitarian access for his work. So Kaikabad was like that. He was one of the Mandali, but here's an interesting story. You may have heard of Dr. Hoshan Barucha. He, he
Yeah, yeah.
became one of Baba's disciples in the late 50s.
Yeah. I've met
And
him
he,
in person.
and he had an inquisitive mind, and Baba shared some interesting things with him that he didn't let other people know, like who the five perfect masters were and some of the people in the circle. One day, Hoshan Barucha was visiting Marizad, and he's looking at Kaikabad. Kaikabad was doing that work with Baba, and Baba says, "What are you thinking?" He says, "I'm thinking, Kaikabad, you're using him for your work, that spiritual work. He must be something." "Yeah," he said, "Kaikabad is good. He has experience. I use him. He's high priest from your town. Not sorry, high priest. You think he's something." Over here is Baidul, Jungli Irani, doesn't speak English. He's crude, rude to people sometimes. But Baidul is from my circle. He has done work for me nobody else has. Compared to Baidul, Kaikabad is not as advanced. So, our ideas of what is what, okay. Baba knows everything. We can't say.
In terms of work that you and Mr. Nigam mentioned that Baba used to do with Kekobad. So, holding the hand for prayer, repentance prayer, and slapping the cheek, what other physical manifestations were there?
Well, nothing. I mean, Baba would bow down to him as he was repeating his name. He was the medium. Baba had to bow down to somebody. If there wasn't Kaikabad was very convenient. He was there, usable. Baba had to have some person to bow down to. Now, there's another thing that's important to remember, and that is, in the discourses, Baba has explained that when disciples come down for work, they are generally veiled because the work is much more readily, easily accomplished by the master if the disciples are veiled. They are tools then. As tools, they can be directly used by the master. They have no distraction of a spiritual place. And that's what the Mandali were. The Mandali would say, oh, we're just ordinary people. They weren't ordinarily ordinary. They were ordinary for a great purpose. They were ordinary for a great... They were free of self-interest. They were Baba's tools. Yeah. Not just ordinary people in that sense. No. No.
So Vishnu's crossing the
Oh, so I was going to tell you the story of Vishnu's death. It's a fascinating story because I heard this story from both Mani and Bhau, who had different perspectives, but I put the whole thing together, and it's really a fascinating thing. So it was at Guru Prasad, and Vishnu would have to do the marketing. So he couldn't attend all the programs at Guru Prasad. And there was some Qawwali music going on. And Baba was enjoying it, the Mandali enjoying it, but there was Francis Brabazon, frustrated. And every once in a while he'd lean over to Bao and say, "What's he trying to say now?" And Bao would have to translate it, and then Bao would miss the next, he would miss the next poetry, and it would be going on like that. Jimmy Mystery was sitting on the other side, and he saw what was happening. So he started inventing things, just inventing any peculiar thing to say to Francis so that Bao could listen to the poetry. It was a funny thing. After the program was over, in the Mandali quarters, Vishnu saw Bao and said, "How was the program today?" "Oh, the singer was good. Baba enjoyed it." And then he said, "But this happened. Francis was there and he was asking me." And so then Jimmy Mystery started inventing any odd thing, telling him. And Vishnu thought it was hilarious and laughed so hard that he had a heart attack and died. Now there's Bao, Bao, what to do? So he sends a message, and Goher comes and examines Vishnu. He's died. Goes back to Baba. Baba sends the message. "I'm coming with money and Goher in 5-10 minutes." So as Baba comes with money, and this now Money is explaining the story, and when she would narrate the story, she would, in the hall, she would say, "Now everybody please turn off your tape recorders." Because they didn't want these spectacular things to be out. So Baba, as he's approaching, he tells Money, "Tell Vishnu Baba is here." And as they're approaching, Money shouted, "Vishnu, Baba has come." And he opened his eyes. And Baba's comment, "See how he obeys me, even in death." What a story. Great story. Yes. Any more questions?
Not after listening to this. I don't
Okay. Well, I have one question here.
ask any question.
Okay.
You remember that story about Alice used to tell in Mandli Hall about the previous birth of Hazrat Baba Jan?
Yes.
The queen or the...
Yes. So, on the subject of Babajan and Baba saying Gulmai would be like Babajan, it made me think about Babajan because Baba had said that her previous life was Rabia of Basra, who was, he said, a six-plane saint, centuries before. And this is another thing about persons in the circle. They don't have to take rapid births and deaths necessarily. They get set. For an example, when Ramchandra Gadikar died, Baba said he only comes back one more time to be in my mandali next Advent. There's only that much left. You can't have more.
So
That's it.
I find
So Rabia, I believe, was in the circle of Muhammad. I believe that. So that by the time the next avatar was coming, she had to have realization. I believe that, and that's why I believe when Baba said to Gulmai, "You will be like Babajan," I believe she will be the Babajan of the next Advent. Yeah. Now, I mentioned that Upasi Maharaj gave her a beating and she begged him to kill her, but he didn't, of course. Now, some people knew that if you got a beating from Upasi Maharaj, it was a great blessing. Some people would go to Sikori and say, I'm not leaving until you give me a good beating. And Maharaj would kind of smile and say, well, I don't feel like it. What can I do? It's not your fate.
I asked for the beating. Why did Upasni Maharaj beat her?
He was, whatever it was, he was doing some severe preparation, relieving her of something. We can't say. Perfect masters. This is not a typical thing that perfect masters do. It's
Right.
a very rare thing, only for some. But if your destiny is to be a perfect master, that could happen to you. Because remember, the thing about perfect masters, they pay the price in creation as human beings. They suffer. I remember once in the hall, there was conversation, and Erich would try and pass the time, and some pilgrim came, and there's conversation. Yeah, well, okay, yes, you're here now. What do you expect? What do you want? What do you want out of life? What is your desire, longing? I don't know, Erich, I guess, to be a perfect master. And Erich said, you don't want to be a perfect master. I've seen perfect masters. All they do is suffer and serve. You don't want to be a perfect master. So it's for those people. It's for the people who suffer and serve. It's in their nature. Otherwise, you can't. All of us have our destiny imprinted from the very beginning, Baba has said. So it's not like at some point we decide, yes, we decide we'll audition. I think I'll do the audition for the perfect master. No, it doesn't happen that way. It's there or not. But talking about Upasni Maharaj, our old friend Minu Barucha spent a lot of time with him. Baba had sent him to Upasni Maharaj. And Minu told us once, Upasni Maharaj told him, if you knew what I did to you in your last life, you would never have come to me now. So, but Upasni Maharaj is a rare example of somebody who really paid the price in the present lifetime to become perfect. Compare him to Narayan Maharaj, who was already made in the previous life, and as a young teenager he got realization and everything was fine, and apparently didn't, but he had already paid the price in previous lives, and he was prepared. Whereas Upasni Maharaj suffered severely. He was in that cave for 1 year. He went into that cave to die. Somewhere near Karagpur. How he even got in there, but he stayed in that cave for 1 year. And he didn't die. And he said to get his body out, he had to drag his body out and throw himself out of the cave. He still didn't die. So Baba referred to it. He said, yes, Upasni Maharaj, his name is Upas means fast, Upasni Maharaj, fasted twice in his life for a year. The first time was a miracle because Sai Baba kept him alive. But the second time he was perfect, so it wasn't a miracle. No.
And regarding abuse, it is a very common thing in India.
Yeah.
People feel blessed when
Yes.
their master or
Right.
they abuse him or
Yes.
beat him.
Yeah.
If he kicks,
Yeah.
they think that
Right.
they are-
Adike Rani used to say, I have received many kisses and kicks from Meher Baba, but it is the kicks that I remember most fondly.
The fourth pillar. The fourth pillar of Mehrabad.
The fourth pillar,
Yeah.
Padri Pendu, Adikeyarani,
Oh, okay.
and
DK.
Vishnu. And
Thank
Vishnu.
you. Adike, I had not remembered. Thank you.
I had a photograph of Baba in early 1927 leaning on one of those posts in the old bungalow. There were those 4 posts that held up the roof because it wasn't meant to last for years and years. That bungalow was built to last 28 months, and it was supposed to be demolished. However, they kept on living in it for 28 years in a dilapidated condition. So there were 4 posts or pillars that held up the roof structure. And there's a beautiful picture of Baba leaning against one of those posts. I still have that picture at Lower Mehrabad. I had that in my room years ago. Padre came in one day, and I showed him that picture, and I said, did Baba ever say which one of you, which pillar was which? And Padre looked at the photograph and said, well, it could be me. It looks like the most crooked one. Yeah. I'll tell you one of Padre's favorite jokes. One of Padre's favorite jokes. We were remembering it this morning. A psychiatrist tells a man, I'm sorry to tell you, but it seems your wife has now completely lost her mind. And the man replied, well, I'm not surprised. She's been giving me a piece of it every day for the last 25 years. Yes. Okay, I'm looking at the time, 7:22. How long do you want to go on? We'll go on as long as you want.
22 hours more, please.
Oh,
Peter Nordeen, what can I say?
any other questions?
Opened his eyes. Did he go back being dead or did he come alive?
No, he was officially dead.
Okay.
He was officially dead. And Baba made that comment, see how he obeys me, even in death. That shows us the willpower of the Mandali. They had such willpower to work for Baba. Mental attentiveness. You may be aware that sometimes there was a problem when one of the Mandali had to have a surgery. They would not come under the influence of the sedative. They wouldn't be knocked out. They were so attentive to be with Baba, that habit was there, that sedatives didn't have effect on them. Can you imagine what kind of mental strength they have?
Who was that?
Both Erich and Bao, both of them. Now Bao, when he had his heart operation, they gave him the muscle relaxer to relax his body, and they gave him the sedative so that he wouldn't be awake while the operation was happening. But the sedative had no effect. So he was just there, unable to say anything, but completely awake. This happens in rare cases. Some people don't get the right sedative and their lives are ruined, and they have to go to counseling, and it's a very traumatic thing for them. But Bao just told me that operation, I was conscious the whole time, and they started cutting and tearing, and that ripping was there. Most uncomfortable.
You'll get an award for mimicry.
Well, we don't have photographs today, so I have to try and give you an idea.
How often does Padre used to go to Mehrabad for talks?
Padre would generally go to Mehrabad, maybe, let me think. he might go once in the year, and he would go to would go in the summer for a week or two to spend time with Pendu. And Pendu would come here and spend a couple of weeks with us. I told the story about it.
when Baba was there,
Oh, when Baba was there.
62 to 69.
Oh, when Baba was there, he would go when he was called. Like the last day he was called to be there. Baba called him to be there on the last day. Baba's last words were taunting Padre about his homeopathy. Words, we say,
Sorry,
it's
can you
last
repeat that,
gestures,
please?
taunting Padre.
Can you please repeat that?
Pardon? Baba's last gestures were taunting Padre about his homeopathy.
So Baba was saying that the homeopathy doesn't work.
No, nothing worked on Baba. You know, Baba went through so much, and he had that period in 1961 of absolute indifference. People call it depression. That wasn't depression, it was a mental state of indifference. It was broken up a few times with a couple of visits from a few disciples from America. But mostly when the Mandali were there, he was in a state of total indifference. He had herpes zoster the same period. Suffered a lot. After all of that, Baba gave an interesting explanation to the Mandali, who were so concerned how to relieve him of some suffering. He said, "How can I tell you I'm happy with my suffering? I'm happy because I know what results it brings in my work."
All the things help us.
Yeah. So, like that.
Peter, Nordeen,
Okay.
time's not on our side, unfortunately.
Okay.
We'd have to.
Good.
A sincere request. Can you please revisit us next Thursday?
Hey.
Yeah. To keep this flame going.
Well, okay. I can't commit to it. Let me see what's happening. You know, Amartithi is coming and there's some pressing work.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So,
sir. Yes, sir.
okay.
Okay.
Let's, let's see what happens.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. I just don't.
Okay.
I just don't know what to say.
It's my joy to talk about Baba. I'm interested in passing time, and that's the best way to pass time.
Jai Mer Baba.
Yes.
Sam, actually, we need to be prepared to listen to him with our questions. Actually, he's like an encyclopedia. We're swimming in the sea and we need to be sure what we are looking for. Actually, it's like that.
Yes, Baba. Yes.
I feel like that. Jai Baba.
Folks, sorry to bring this program to a closure, but we have to, and now we shall go into prayer and arti and then depart.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, and Jai Mer Baba.
Bye-bye.
Can we cut this out? Sound is cut.
अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय. O Parvardegar, the preserver and protector of all, you are without beginning and without end, non-dual, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. You are indivisible, and none can see you but with eyes divine. You always were, You always are and you always will be. You are everywhere, you are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the three worlds and also beyond the three worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the Creator, the Lord of Lords, the knower of all minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. You are knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future, and you are knowledge itself. You are all merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the ancient one, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parmeshwar. You are the beyond God and the beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Ilahi, Yazdan, Ahura Mazda, and God the Beloved. You are named Izad, the only one worthy of worship. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false or unjust or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent most especially for every lustful thought and every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most especially also, we repent for every action that has brought ruin to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us, and to forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you. And help us all to hold fast to Baba's Daman till the very end. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
भुजावे नार जहलतनी कर खुद रथ ने फरमा तू छलागी आश भक्तों ने के बख्शे नूरे मातू आया मुर्शद मेहर बाबा चरण पर तुझ न धरिए सर खुदाना जात थी वाकिफ थई बै तो मेहर बातू तू छे माँ लिख हकीकत फतनो तू आशिक भीने आरे भी तुझे दरी याए वहदत मारे फतनो हो ही तूफान तू हमोर है रब ने सालेक बख्शे ज्ञान ईजदनु के तू पर महात्मा ज्ञानी छने मूड तारेर फातू खुदाना प्रेम नो प्यालो पिलावी मस्त हमने कर छ तुझ पर जान सदके साखिया पी दे पैमा तू हमारी नाव भर दरिए तराबे तो हमें तरिए हमारा ना खुदा मेहर बाबा छनिगे बातू हमारा ना खुदा मेहर बाबा छनिगे बातू बुझावे नार जहलत नी कर खुद रत ने फरमातू छलागी आश भक्तों ने के बख्शे नूरे मातू। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय।
जहाँ कल्पना शब्द न पहुँचे ऐसे अपरंपार नेति नेति वेद पुकारे महिमा तोरी अपार दिव्य सनातन परम दयाधन दिव्य सनातन परम दयाधन हे जगदू द्वारो मेहर मन आरती स्वीकारो मेहर मन आरती स्वीकारो धूप दीप चंदन चर्चाना भोग लगाना फूल चढ़ाना तुम राही तुमको लौटाना काहे बड़ाई करूं मेहर मन आरती स्वीकारो मेहर मन आरती स्वीकारो सकल निधि के तुम कारण हो सकल विश्व तारण हारे हो तुम सम और नहीं तुम ही हो हे सत अवतारो मेहर मन आरती स्वीकारो मेहर मन आरती स्वीकारो सकल चराचर तुमरी माया माया भी तो तुमरी छाया तुमरा अंत न कोई पाया तुम हो अनंत खरो मेहर मन आरती स्वीकारो मेहर मन आरती स्वीकारो अपने को जब जो नहीं जाने महिमा तुम्हारी क्या पहचाने, जो कुछ भी कहते अनजाने, गुण गाते तुमरो मेहर मन, आरती स्वीकारो मेहर मन, आरती स्वीकारो। सीमा नाही तुम्हारी कृपा को, क्या कोई दे सकता प्रभु तुमको, भीख तुम्ही दो प्रेमी जनों को, नित्य तुम्हें सुमरो मेहर मन, आरती स्वीकारो मेहर मन, आरती स्वीकारो। दिव्य सनातन परम दयाधन, दिव्य सनातन परम दयाधन, हे जगदुद्वारो मेहर मन, आरती स्वीकारो मेहर मन, आरती स्वीकारो। अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय, अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय, अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। प्रियतम अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय।
Peter Nordeen, are you there? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Let's meet around one more time next Thursday. Jai Baba.